25 cents currently when it comes to XCN, at least at the time of this recording, is around a 24x from here. And how do I feel about that, even though nothing I say is financial advice? Well, to me, I'm still as excited when it comes to XCN as I was before, because fundamentally, I don't think anything bad happened to it, but then the price went lower, and around a 24x, I understand that it's not going to be the best hypothetical upside out there of all time, if it ever even did happen. But then to me, I still kind of have that same conviction when it comes to this project, and I'm not giving up. I'm not telling them to do anything, by the way, but when I take a look at, arguably, right, maybe the lower something is, the more room it has to grow. It doesn't mean it will, but then just kind of in theory, that's the way to take a look at it. Now, could XCN go lower? Yeah, who knows, right? The market's going to do its thing. I have no control over that. But I'm still dollar cost averaging. So if I was just dollar cost averaging, and let's say the price went lower, then it's fine, because to me, I never went all in. I'm just consistently treating it like a marathon. I'm not just trying to find the perfect moment. I'm just more so preparing for a moment in time in which, let's say, maybe things do have an altcoin season, but that's an only time will tell type of scenario. But when I take a look at 25 cents market cap at that point, around 9 billion, considering current circulating supply, it's still not something that I would find too outlandish. I get it. XCN's not doing that good right now, with a bunch of other altcoins too. But then, when I just take a look at the grand scheme of things, if there's, let's say, an altcoin season, a $9 billion market cap, it just doesn't, feel to me as something that is too outlandish. If the market cap needed was, 100 billion or something like that, I'm not even going to entertain that idea, maybe, right? Why would I? But then just the idea of maybe around a $9 billion market cap doesn't mean it will happen, right? Who knows? But then it's not something that would be too outlandish to me. Now, when I take a look at around a 24x from here, despite, again, right, the pullback, and if I take a look at that, I understand it's not going to be the best hypothetical upside up there of all time, but let's say, what is BNB going to do in the next 5 months? I don't know if it could do over a 20x, right? I don't know if XLM could do over a 20x from here in the next 5 months. Who knows? I believe in XLM, by the way. But that seems like a very massive, achievement for it to do. Now, again, only time will tell, but this is just the way to take a look at it. If I take a look at Onyx, what bad thing fundamentally happened to it? I don't think anything actually bad happened to it. If anything, I think actually it became better because of, the Goliath testnet launch and also what they're doing with the wallet and stuff like that. I just don't think it became worse. I think if anything, it's actually improving. It's just sometimes when there is that news about hey, there's that Goliath testnet launch and then the price isn't doing the best, it's kind of dialed down in terms of the attention, in terms of the, kind of recognition for something like that. But I think that's actually such a massive achievement in the grand scheme of things. Imagine if Onyx, launched the testnet of Goliath back then when the price was doing way better. Could you imagine maybe the sort of reputation and attention it would have at that time compared to right now? It would be totally different, right? But then, back then, even despite, I don't think Onyx being that good actually fundamentally, in terms of what could I really latch onto it, right? Let's just think about this. When I first believed in Onyx, my kind of perception was that, hey, you know what, maybe it's this miniature version of Stellar, a little bit, right? But then I didn't have much to latch onto fundamentally. I still believed in it, right? I still think that the fundamentals were pretty okay for me to believe in it, but then I don't think it was as good as right now. But then again, the price is lower right now, so then it's kind of difficult to sometimes justify that, hey, the fundamentals became better, but if I actually take a look at it, hypothetically, I did think it became better, despite the price not doing good. So within this space, I think in some cases, the price going down is more so tied to kind of the sentiment, the selling pressure. Not in every single case, it's tied to the fundamentals. At least that's the way to take a look at it. And I don't see that to be the case here where, the fundamentals became worse and then the price went down. I feel like, yes, the price did go down and maybe it could go lower, who knows? But then in terms of fundamentals, I feel like it actually went up ever since I started believing in it, despite the price not doing good compared to not too long ago. And even despite all that, right, when I take a look at Onyx, it's still holding up pretty good. When I take a look at XCN, the amount of holders is still holding up pretty okay. Also, on top of that, I feel like the sort of attention that it has is still not bad nonetheless. Now, it's not the best, but it's still not that bad the way you take a look at it. And ultimately, sometimes people like to say, why are you talking about this when the price is not doing good? Talk about it later when the price is doing better. Well, to me, if I believe in a project, would it make sense for me to only talk about it when it's doing good? Well, who knows? Maybe it's different on a case-by-case basis. However, if that's the case, then I'll just be talking about projects that are doing good regardless of the fundamentals. But if I believe in something, whether or not it does good or does bad, I just want to talk about it nonetheless because I'm a fan of the project, right? It's like, for instance, if every single time XCN had a pullback, I just give up, what's the point? That's just not my style. Now, I'm not telling them to do anything, right? This is just my perception. This is just what I'm doing again personally. But it's kind of like this. If, let's say, I'm running a marathon, and any time, or should I say, like, if there is a moment when things don't go my way, I just give up, then when am I ever going to be able to complete a marathon, right? There are so many variables along the way. It's not just going to be this perfect thing in some cases. And I kind of know that getting into this. And personally, again, I believe in Onyx. But no matter what someone told me, no matter what I read up online or something like that, still despite all that, it's my own decision to believe in this, right? And sure, sometimes you like to say, oh, it's not the best decision and all this type of stuff. Well, maybe. But then I still like the fundamentals nonetheless because I still believe in the payments market. I still believe in the global trade and finance market. And I kind of do view Onyx as being a miniature version of, let's say, something like Stellar. And I feel like if, let's say, there's an altcoin season, I don't think every single person out there is necessarily just going to gravitate towards XRP and XLM because their market cap is very massive, right? When it comes to XCN, sure, the market cap is not the smallest out there. I mean, it's well beyond, $100 million, right, in terms of market cap. So by no means can I consider it just even like a mediocre sized project. It's already okay sized. But then at the same time, it's not having a market cap that is like over 5 billion or something like that. You know what I mean? When it comes to the competitors, or should I say the other alternatives beyond XRP and XLM, it's not like these type of projects really have such a massive market cap. If we take a look at XDC, which is arguably the most popular kind of competitor, I would say, when it comes to XCN, if we remove XRP and XLM, that market cap is around $1 billion. But then we saw not too long ago, for instance, right, XRP reach around $200 billion in market cap. So then the discrepancy is still very massive. You know what I mean? Even the discrepancy between XRP and XLM is still very massive. XLM does not have a market cap currently that is like, above 20 billion, for instance, right? So it's like very far when it comes to XRP. And then if we take a look at something like XDC, even that compared to something like, XLM is still very far as well. So then, even if we take a look at something, let alone like XCN, even that discrepancy to XDC is still pretty far because, again, XDC is around $1 billion in market cap. So then, if I take a look at it, XCN still has maybe a lot to prove, along with a bunch of other of its, competitors, I would say, right? Like, for instance, in the case of ZBCN, or should I say ZEBEC, and also in the case of XPR Swiftcoin, they haven't had that necessarily breakthrough mainstream type of moment yet, which is why I'm still excited when it comes to this space. I'm just still waiting because whenever an altcoin season starts, that's beyond my control. So if someone asks me like, hey, when is this going to start and all this, that is beyond my control. Like, I cannot demand this to happen or whatever to happen when it comes to, the markets. Again, I can only control myself, but I kind of like the space that, Onyx is in. Again, that payments and global trade and finance space. So that's what I'm just going to do. I'm just going to stay patient. And that's about it. But I haven't given up, and I don't want to give up because I made it this far. I just don't want to quit like that. But you know what? I'm not telling them to do anything, but this is just personally my point of view. And that's what I'm going to do. And I want to say thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. It's Malik the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.